We got it. This being live stream, we got it. Our technical difficulties are over. Welcome, everybody, to the Mike Lead Aspire session today. My name is Mary Cheney, of course. It is been you would think it was the 13th and not the 14th, as many problems as we've been having to get it up and running today. But we're here. We're here. And we're going to have a wonderful conversation today. It's Annie Taylor, right?
Turner.
Turner. Sorry. And it's Annie. I want to say Annie, but okay, it's Annie. I'm gonna get it right. But
Yeah.
welcome, Annie, to the Mike Lead Aspire session, and we are live streaming, and we're here, and we're just gonna have a conversation. So we're gonna jump right into it. We never met, but it's okay. By the end, we'll be sisters. It's okay.
Yeah. There you go.
So, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and, tell us what you do.
Yeah. Well, um, where do I start? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about, my story. And it all into cybersecurity, it all kind of was very untraditional.
Mhm.
If you had told me maybe years ago that I'd be leading a security program at a major tech company, I would have probably laughed. Just because I started within a psychology degree, where I
Okay.
was
Mhm.
convinced that, coding wasn't for me. I don't even think I knew what coding was.
Mhm.
So I always saw myself as more of a creative thinker. I loved art, problem solving, building things. And in fact, in college, my laptop case had you might have already seen this before, but it had an illustration of a brain on it. And so the
Okay.
left hemisphere was like all black and white and logic, numbers, super boring. And then the right hemisphere was just bursting with colors, very vibrant, very inviting.
Mhm.
So that was my identity. I completely identified with that right side. And, I believed that I belonged in the creative and human-centered world and not in a technical field like programming or security or anything math or science related. And it's funny because looking back, I really wasn't bad at math or science. I just convinced myself that they weren't my thing. And so no one, I mean, even had ever shown me how tech could be creative. And since I had never met a software engineer or a cybersecurity engineer, I, had no idea what the job really entailed.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, wait a minute. Before we get into your origin story any longer, do you want to introduce yourself and tell the audience who you are and what tech company you work for and everything like
oh
that? We just thought, I think we're rushed because we were in technical difficulties, but we're gonna back out a little bit
for sure.
and then just do
Well,
a proper
this kind of
introduction.
like jumps into it too, but yeah, so I'm Annie Turner. I work as a senior security engineer at Adobe. And like I will tell you in a little bit. But I lead the bug bounty program at
Okay.
Adobe. So I work a lot with
Okay.
external researchers and all.
Right. So now we can connect the dots from your origin story, psychology degree, and then now you didn't identify with anything technical. So in
Yeah.
college, so what happened after that?
Well, so within college, um, you know, I it kind of changed everything for me at the end of it.
Mhm.
So just before I graduated, a friend of mine introduced me to Free Code Camp. It's just a site online where you can learn how to code. And it's very simple, very cute. And so up until that moment, I really had never thought about how websites were built. I guess I just assumed that they just existed or just magically appeared. I don't know really what I thought, but I'd never really thought about how websites were built. And then, yeah, within a few hours of just playing around with HTML and CSS, JavaScript, I really was, completely hooked. And to the point that I spent the entire workday ignoring my actual tasks because I was so fascinated by it and of what I could create with code. But yeah, I was already, set to graduate, and I told myself that it was just too late to change course. But fast forward a few months later, another friend told me about a coding boot camp they had done. To switch careers. And in Germany, where I grew up, changing career paths like that just wasn't common. Once you picked a profession, you you better stick with it. But yeah, you were expected to kind of stick with it. So
Mhm.
I dismissed the idea, but then I stumbled upon a Python course online. I definitely researched it, but at that time, I just told myself, this is just for fun. But so I was working at a counseling center at that time, and I kept finding ways to kind of automate my tedious tasks because I didn't have a master's yet, so I wasn't licensed to practice as a counselor. So my tasks were the tasks that nobody else wanted to do. But that's how my creativity kind of kicked into high gear. And my boss really noticed that. And she was actually the one who told me about a coding boot camp event happening downtown Salt Lake.
Mhm.
And so that night, I told my husband I'd be home late, and then just went to check it out. And just listening to the speakers share their careers, the journeys, I just knew from that moment on that this was really what I wanted to do. So yeah, despite, both of us, my husband and I, being college grads with barely any money, we went all in, and I enrolled in like a 12-week boot camp, learning JavaScript, Node.js, React, MongoDB, just a bunch of stuff. And I just threw myself into networking events as well, even though they kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone. But yeah, that's how I actually landed my first internship.
Mhm.
And then from there, I kept grinding and learning and improving every day. And then got hired at Adobe, which was a huge milestone. But even there, I wasn't done. I decided to pursue a master's degree in information systems because I wanted it to match my current, skills and job. But people told me it was such a waste of time, and um, but yeah, if you know me, I'm very stubborn, and honestly, it was the best decision that I uh, could have done because of how I discovered cybersecurity through it. And just
Mhm.
like, coding security kind of hooked me, and I became obsessed with understanding how my Wi-Fi works or what vulnerabilities are, how attackers think, and how I could prevent threats. But yeah,
Mhm.
that curiosity led me to my current role where I help lead, Adobe's bug bounty program. And we work with ethical hackers, where we, strengthen the security of Adobe. And then I
Mhm.
get to also automate stuff as well, which is super
Right.
fun. But yeah, looking back,
Yeah.
I can see how, every part of my journey from psychology, coding, security kind of shaped the way I solve problems today. And my background, it kind of gave me a unique perspective because I was born in Armenia, raised in Germany, built my career in the US, and then each experience kind of added another layer of how I approach challenges.
Absolutely. Now I 100% believe it should be STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, because I
Mhm.
find that a lot of creative people have that also, that both sides of the brain type of mentality. I mean, I I do a lot of painting around the house. I do a lot of home improvement projects and things like that. And I
Mhm.
honestly, and my daughter is amazing at science and technology, but she's going the arts route. She wants to be in animation, so she's a creator as well. So I really believe that there are parts of the brain that it's not just technical, one side. There is a creative component to it, and it's great to hear how you merged all of those things within your career. I had a traditional pathway into the profession myself, but it's really intriguing. I love to bring people on and just talk to them about their story, because everybody believes that there's a one way, right, to be able to get into this cybersecurity. And this, of course, these sessions are meant to expose just different avenues um, that people can utilize to be in a space. So, you found you were like, oh, I don't want to do this. And then it's like you found out you fell in love with it. And then it started, the juices started to flow, from a problem solving perspective. And that's great. And we have a lot of folks that come on that talk about that thirst, that knowledge, that create, I'm sorry, that curiosity, right? To be able to go down this particular path, but remaining curious. And it's like, okay, like you said, I don't feel like doing these tedious tasks. So let me see if I can use my coding skills to automate it. so I don't
Yeah.
so I don't have to do it. So I mean, what advice, I guess, would you give? Like, of course, the folks that come on and they listen to us on our YouTube channel, and they come and they sit with us and talk with as we talk with individuals. What would be some advice you would give someone that there's just now, or maybe transitioning, coming out of it, since you transitioned, right? Coming out of a different profession and going into cybersecurity. Anything top of mind? What came to your mind as you made those transitions?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Because that's what I wanted somebody to give me too back then, right? So, um, well, my number one thing would be don't wait for the perfect opportunity, kind of create it yourself. Um, just because cybersecurity is it's a space where kind of self-starters thrive. Whether you're coming from a traditional tech background, like you were saying, or pivoting like I did, just staying curious and then getting hands-on experience is key. And then breaking into cybersecurity can feel very overwhelming. But I would say the best way to start is by building a strong foundation, like understanding operating systems and scripting. And if you're new to security, like just pick a focus. It could be web security, cloud security, app security, or ethical hacking even. And then start experimenting. Like certifications are nice, obviously, and a lot of us do have them, but hands-on experience is, I would say, better. And then,
Mhm.
set up kind of like a home lab, like dive into bug bounty programs if that's what you're interested in, or contribute to open source security projects. There's so many out there. And then explore platforms like Hack the Box or Try Hack Me. I know lots of people have done that, and I've
Mhm.
gone on Hack the Box and found it to be very exciting. It's very simple and gives you step-by-step instructions. But I'd say beyond the technical side, train yourself to think like both an attacker and a defender. Because security isn't just about tools and code, it's about problem solving, communication, and critical thinking, kind of understanding how attackers think and what motivates security decisions. That's what makes you invaluable. And then my other piece
But
of
I
advice, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I would just say the other piece of advice would be just, don't underestimate the power of networking, because the cybersecurity, community is incredibly welcoming, and it's, diverse, and so many people from all over, and connecting with others can open doors that you never expected. And then finding a mentor or attending security conferences, or, just contributing to discussions online, that's a great way to start. But staying curious is what I would say is also very important, because cybersecurity, evolves rapidly, and even the best
Mhm.
professionals are those who never stop learning. So
Right. Right. No, no, no. And that's good to hear. I was gonna pull on that thread of networking, and being able to go to conferences and get out of your comfort zone, because I
Mhm.
think we can sit there and we could be in our labs and we can do all of those other things. But if we don't really talk to people, if we don't get, cybersecurity is still one of those professions that it's helpful to know people in it and to be able to break in it to get those opportunities that you need because hands-on experience is easy to say but
Mhm.
sometimes harder to do when you're out there and you're trying to find your way, so to speak. So how long have you been at Adobe? Every time I have someone come onto Adobe, you guys go to this whole coding thing, and I often I pull you guys back from that because it's like when you have a product, right, like Adobe, then that's the skill that you're heavily leaned on. But I've been in banking, I've done cybersecurity at financial services, healthcare, and it's a difference, right, depending upon the viewpoint. So I like to harass the Adobe folks because I'm like, you guys talk about coding because that's what you guys do.
Yeah. That's true. And I mean, it's a skill, right? Just as it
Right,
is like to do like understanding, how networking works, like it all is a skill to me.
right.
And it depends what area of focus you lean into.
Mhm,
But yeah, I mean, I did coding first. I did product development. And
mhm,
then that's what I did at first with Adobe. And then
mhm,
I jumped into AppSec because that's where my master's came in because I was like, I am too passionate about cybersecurity. How do I get there? And so I met, and that's where networking came into. I met with a bunch of people within the AppSec field, within my, the company I was in, and just asked around and they gave me some tips and I went for it and I applied for the job and got the AppSec role. And then from there, I went into, overall security within Adobe. So it wasn't specific to a certain product. And yeah, and I have to say, like, coding is really valuable, but I could still do my job if I didn't know how to code.
mhm,
So,
mhm, mhm. Okay, that's good. Now, I don't want to, stereotype, but you look like a younger professional.
mhm.
And so, we when we talk about the challenges that one faces in their career as are you a people leader? Do you lead people or are you a individual contributor?
Individual contributor.
Okay, okay. So you haven't made the transition. Do you want to be a people leader? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I would actually love that. That's one of my hopes and dreams.
Okay, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we have something for that for you, a leadership development course, but we're not going to plug Mike's leadership courses yet. But all that
Mhm.
to say, as you're now growing and you're in rooms, right? Although the hacking community itself, because you live in bug bounty world, right? And there are so many wonderful characters, and the hacking community itself is very diverse. However, the corporate side of that may not be as diverse as, the community at large. And so it's like, and being a younger professional, being a woman of color, those challenges exist. So, what would you say to someone right now, especially that are maybe dealing with challenges in their career for the fact that they're young. I mean, diversity comes in all shapes, sizes, and colors. And diversity of thought, they're discriminate. I've had teammates that, oh, I'm a younger professional. People don't take me seriously. I look young, so the older folks don't take me seriously. So, have you experienced any of those challenges? And if so, what's the best advice you can give someone to get through those things?
Yeah. Well, I'm fortunate that I do get to work with strong women leaders at Adobe. But I think the reality is that, cybersecurity is still, as a whole, it is a male-dominated field. And so at times it can feel very isolating. And representation matters, not just for those in the field, but, today, but even for those looking to break into it. So when you're one of the few, there's kind of that unspoken pressure to not only prove yourself, but to pave the way for those who come after you. And that responsibility to me is both empowering and challenging. But one of the biggest challenges I've faced is, kind of balancing technical credibility with leadership growth. There's, often an expectation that security leaders must be highly technical, but leadership isn't just about depth of knowledge. It's also about strategic thinking and communication and influence. And so I've learned that success isn't about fitting into a traditional mold. It's about leveraging my strengths, whether that's technical expertise, problem solving, or even fostering like a strong security culture. But yeah, beyond that, I constantly battle feelings of, not being good enough. I think imposter syndrome is real and everybody experiences it. And even at a senior level, it just never really goes away. I've had directors and VPs also tell me that, that just never really leaves you. There are days when I doubt myself and I wonder if I really belong in the room I'm in. But what helps me push through it is taking a step back and kind of writing down my accomplishments, reminding myself of the impact I have made and the challenges I've overcome, and the expertise I bring to the table, because seeing it in a writing forces me to kind of acknowledge what I can do and that I do belong. And, early in my career, I felt the need to kind of constantly prove I belonged, and almost as if I had to earn my seat at the table over,
Mhm.
over and over again. But real leadership to me isn't just about, blending in. It's about owning your unique perspective and using it to drive progress. And, it's made me realize that my value isn't just in what I know technically, but in how I connect people or solve problems and make
Absolutely.
security more accessible.
Okay. Well, if I wouldn't be me if I didn't say this, because I want everybody to remove that imposter syndrome label from their vocabulary.
Yeah.
And this is my personal mission in life, is to
Mhm.
let you give yourself the grace to know that you don't know everything,
Yeah.
right? And you're not supposed to. I mean, and I break it down something simple, like you had to learn to walk,
Mhm.
right? And whenever you're never going to know everything in cybersecurity, there's always going to be some new tool, some new something, some new this, some new that. And no, you stand in your own to know what you do know, and then you know that you can learn,
Yeah.
right? And so proving yourself, or proving you have value, or proving that you need to be in the room, is something that especially minorities often feel
Mhm.
in this space. Stop it. You stop it. Just for me, if I do nothing else in my life, I'm gonna just broadcast it out consistently. You deserve the seat that you're in, and you've
Mhm.
earned it. And you've earned it over and over and over again. And so there's no challenge that you can't get through if with enough time and digging into the problem. So I'm not an imposter. I am who I am.
Yeah. And
And
it's a constant process, right? And I've
yeah.
learned that, self-doubt doesn't define my ability. It's just a
Hmm.
sign that I care about my work and the impact
Hmm.
I'm making. So yeah,
Hmm. I think confidence is better though,
for sure.
Annie.
I'll take confidence. I'll start using that from now on.
Take confidence over self-doubt.
Yes.
I mean, of course you're nervous. It's like, I'm a public speaker. We have our conference coming up, and there are a lot of people that are afraid to speak publicly. But and what I tell my daughter, and what I said, even when I get ready to get on stage, I'm still nervous, but that doesn't mean I can't do it. It's still, once I do it, it's my jam. It's what I love to do. And so it's like that butterflies, that whatever you're feeling is because it means something to you,
Mhm.
right? But that doesn't mean you can't rise to the occasion, because you've been rising to the occasion your whole career. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop my coaching right now and get on to asking you more questions. So
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, as it relates to your own personal journey, right? What would you say is the most useful tool in your toolkit to get you where you are and where you want to go as you're climbing the corporate ladder?
Um, probably adaptability. I had to do a lot of that. Self-awareness, where you're at and how much you can grow, and that's okay. And then strategic relationship building too. Like to me, that's a big part of my journey and who I am. And going from psychology to coding to security, that has been all about learning and pivoting and reinventing myself. And then each transition required me kind of to embrace change and take on new challenge and constantly ask myself, how can I add value here, or what can I do differently? So self-awareness has been, huge in that process as well. And it's helped me kind of recognize my strengths and identify areas where I need to grow, and then align, my skills with what the business, so Adobe overall actually needs. But yeah, because at the end of the day, success isn't just about what you want. It's also understanding where you can have the biggest impact. And technical skills are great, but they aren't everything. The relationships I've built have been just as critical, if not more even. And in security, collaboration is everything. Like within my field, I don't just I work with security researchers, like external hackers. I work with other security teams, with product teams. So it's like, it's not just me. There's so much collaboration going on. You can be the most skilled person in the room, but if you can't communicate your ideas or work with cross-functional teams or get even buy-in from leadership, then you're going to hit a ceiling.
Well, you're sounding like you're leaning in on that psychology degree a little bit more than you're letting on. I mean, it's about people and learning people, and of course, the psychology of a hacker. What does that bring to the table? That has to be fascinating, right? To be able to work with researchers and that in the hacking community and being able to, from a psychological perspective, because I'm a former FBI agent, right? So I used to catch criminals. You didn't know that. It's okay.
No.
So I used to catch criminals. So the why is always important when you're dealing with any type of threat actor, right? And so do you get, does the other side of your brain flowing when you start talking to the hacking community? I'm curious.
Well, yeah, I mean, my psychology background has probably helped me bridge gaps, whether it's, translating security risks for developers or, working with external researchers or influencing security culture across an organization. I think that's been a key factor. And I've learned how to, communicate with people in a better way. And when I first joined as a tech, as an engineer, I was like, why is nobody social? And so it took me some time to kind of understand how everybody works, to kind of use my magic and then build those relationships. And by the end of it, I got people talking about things that I didn't want them to talk to about. So it was really cool to see how that psychology piece, added into my work too, which is, it doesn't go really together at first, but it makes a huge difference.
Well, you are actually on a great path to be a leader, because once you get into people leadership, it comes, that part of psychologically understanding what motivates people, right?
Yeah.
Understanding, how to communicate, and how to figure out how to get someone to get on the team strategy, right? That comes in handy a lot. Yeah, as a
Yeah.
former leader and running teams of 30 something plus, it was always a situation where I'm spending a lot more time on the human element than I am on the technical element. So I think you're there. I don't know if your boss is watching, but I think you're ready.
Oh, thanks so much.
So
Biggest
okay,
compliment
so
ever.
I think that specifically speaking, as a leader, and what we talk about as I teach leaders in our Mike Lead programs, has to do, you have to know who you are. You have to know your leadership style, but you have to be able to identify and work with others. You have to be able to manage peer relationships. You have to be able to manage cross-functional relationships. You know, what do you do if your boss and his peer don't get along, but you have to get something done? All of those things are realistic when it comes to navigating corporate spaces. And if you lean too much on the technologist aspect of it, you miss the opportunity to be that strategic thinker, that bigger thinker, that we need to get stuff done. We need to collaborate and not go with the whole forceful thought, but to be able to give people what they need. And so you can actually grow in your career. So no, I like I said, it has to be fascinating. I know building rapport and those things that I had to do in my law enforcement career, it has come in handy in my professional career. So I mean, outside of, you said you talked about your strategic career roadmap. So you are where you are right now. What's coming up next? What's the next target? You seem, all cybersecurity IT people, we seem to be very highly motivated. And
Yep.
so very ambitious, I would say. So let's talk a little bit about that, and where do you see yourself in the next 3, 5, 7 years?
Well, I love what I do, and that's one thing.
Mhm,
But and my long-term goal is to lead a team of security engineers, because I
mhm,
believe it's fascinating and I can bring a lot to the table. And I believe, leadership is about impact, not titles. But right now, my focus is on kind of shaping my, strategic thinking, strengthening Adobe security culture, and then driving innovation within our bug bounty program. Because security
yeah.
isn't just about identifying and fixing vulnerabilities. It's also about
Mhm,
kind of shifting the way people think about risks, and making security more proactive rather than reactive.
mhm,
But yeah, that's why I'm passionate about kind of bridging the gap between developers, security teams, and external researchers.
mhm,
Having been kind of in all of that before.
mhm,
And just ensuring security is seen not as a barrier, but as a driver of innovation.
mhm,
But
mhm.
yeah, beyond my day-to-day work, I mean, I do care deeply about growing the cybersecurity community as a whole. I want to inspire more people to explore this field. I think there's so many talented, wonderful women out there who might never think they
Mhm.
can do this work, but uh, they can.
Yes,
And
yes,
this is
yes.
what this is for. Especially those who, don't see themselves represented here, or within the cybersecurity culture community. I think because cybersecurity thrives on, diverse thinkers, builders, problem solvers, it's such a huge aspect of it. But yeah,
Yes.
whether it's through mentorship, I've mentored lots of wonderful students, people all over the world, or speaking engagements. I've done those as well, or leading,
Mhm.
initiatives within my team. I'm just always committed to helping others to break into and succeed in security. But yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
looking ahead, I don't want to just lead. I want to shape the future of security. Just build, innovative.
Innovative. There you
Yeah.
go.
See, that's the
It's okay.
German
It's
coming
Friday.
out of
It's
me.
Friday. It's okay. It's Friday.
And then, align security with business goals as well, in a really meaningful way. But yeah,
Mhm,
cybersecurity is evolving so fast, and especially
mhm,
within AI, threats and automation, and all of that. I want to be, at the forefront of these changes, and um, continuously adapt and learn and contribute to, solutions that make security just more resilient.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to let you guys know if you're out there and you're watching, if you have any questions for Annie, just type them. I'm monitoring the chat. I keep looking up there on my computer to see if there's any questions. But also, um, would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Adobe, who is a sponsor of the Minorities in Cybersecurity Conference coming up March 23rd through 27th. So thank you, Adobe, for being a sponsor to our conference and supporting our community. But in addition to that, not just that. As far as the leadership aspect goes, we do have leadership development courses. I always challenge my directs, you know, every year when you're writing your goals and objectives, they oh, I want this certification, this certification, this certification. And it's like, well, what are you doing for your what others call soft skills, what I call corporate survival skills? What are you doing to help your leadership? Right. There, as there are people that want to be leaders like yourself. There are people that just want to, be hackers and be behind the keyboard all day every day, don't want to talk to people. And that comes from, as a leader, you identify those things. But be remiss if I didn't, extend that opportunity for you through our Mike Lead Communicators course, which starts in June. Our applications open in April. So if you're looking at it, we go through at least the courses that I teach. Our strategic program development, are how do you report out metrics, how do you build a program and actually start to get to report out those things. So I want to extend that invitation to you as well for that. So, when I challenge our leaders, just it's okay to be okay where you are right now because you're growing your subject matter expertise, but you wanna plan, right? You want to be able to plan out so when the opportunity comes, that's what you're looking for. if you if you're not there, if you don't like, okay, well, this is I kind of figure like this is what I want to do, and because and this is where I want to go, and I challenge even individuals that are entering into the cybersecurity field for the first time. You know, Miss Mary, we have an apprenticeship program, and they'll say, Miss Mary, I want to be pen tester. And I'll say, okay, well, you can't be a pen tester if you don't know how to defend a network. I say that all the time, and I'm sure the recordings, I've said this numerous times. But the thing is, we in cybersecurity, or the cybersecurity community, I've been in it for 30 plus years, right? So the thought that you have to specialize immediately is something that younger professionals, or even the folks that are trying to transition, um get into it. That's what they get out of it. They say, oh, this is what I want to do. It it sounds like for you, as we had this conversation, you just love coding, and that's how you decided to get into the space. Is that fair?
It was a start, yeah. But now I'm coding is just a means to the end. I love everything around cybersecurity, just how to do hacking, how to, work within a network, or how to build something of your own that's not coding related. Um, but yeah, just understanding different aspects of security as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it is like for instance, I was a network security person. So what
Mhm.
I tell people, get it when you first starting out, do what your jam is,
Yeah.
right? It's I'm still a network security person. You should see what I got some issues with my camera system right now that I'm not. It's gonna not be pretty this weekend. I have to dive into this, but all that to be said, it's still my jam.
Mhm.
Right. And so when I talk to individuals that are transitioning, and I talk to, let's say, someone that's coming out of healthcare, they were a nurse, right? Or I say, well, the business. Knowing the business is half the battle. Because a lot of technologists, they know the tech, but they don't know the impact of the
Yeah.
business. So if you know the ins and outs of healthcare systems and how things get done, you just put the security hat on that particular area,
Mhm.
right? Or if you were, a lot of the what I tell a lot of folks that are coming out of real estate. I said, well, you're a salesperson. Cybersecurity sales is the thing. You can really make a lot of money in cybersecurity sales,
Mhm.
being a cybersecurity sales staff. And so those transitional skills, like those are important to be able to articulate to other individuals just how to navigate this space. What is your gym? What are you good at? What do you like? Now, if you are coming and it's like, I just want to get rid of, I just hate everything about what I've done before. Find out what your love is, because there is a place for you in our profession as you navigate. It's so wide what we can actually do. And so it's like, find your jam, find that thing. It's the ticket. It's like it's still a default characteristic. That's not all I do. I own two companies now, but it's still not going to stop me from
Yeah.
my my
And you can be an
networking.
individual contributor without, having to code all the time or sitting behind a computer, like there's
Right.
so many roles out there within security, within tech, within all of that that I'm like, wow, I didn't know that role existed. So yeah, there's so much out there.
Yeah, I used to put my creators in security awareness, those that had that side of the brain. I would put them into security awareness, because that's the thing, right? We have a job on our job board right now that's for, security awareness and training, and it's still a six-figure role. It's like you still have the opportunities to utilize whatever it is that you're good at, right?
Yeah. And
So,
if you feel like you
as
want to dabble into coding, I don't think there's anything bad about that either. Like,
no, not at all.
um,
I can still
find your way through
code.
it.
I
Even
can
if it is
still
not
code.
deep diving and actually building something, you can just understanding the basics of it might help you understand
Mhm.
how a developer works, right? And how to
Mhm.
bridge that
Mhm.
gap as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you got the data security side, right?
Yeah.
And what the outputs of all of those, even tangentially the privacy side of the house, and you're having all of these things that are a matter of protection, right? And that's what we ultimately do. We only have 5 minutes left. I don't see any questions up there. So I would say thank you very much, for joining us. I know, like I said, we had technical difficulties before, but thank you so much for sharing your story. It is so important for individuals out there to receive hope, and your positive message about just, staying in, stay curious, doing these things that, networking, understanding, strategic thinking. All of these are nuggets, that individuals that are watching and will watch later, of course, that will come on and say, okay, I can do this. I think it's part of our responsibility as women in this space to be able to, be an inspiration for others. Like I said, I thank you so much for sharing your journey with us and coming on. And it's been a pleasure. I will give you a chance to ask me a question if you have one. Look, I don't even do that often. I usually just go and cut off. So we've never met. So
No, I mean, once you said FBI, my I don't know, my excitement got up too, because I was like, this is so cool. But how did you make that jump from FBI into, or what exactly did you do within the FBI? Because there's so many roles
yeah,
too.
no, I investigated cybercrime for the FBI. So I have a information systems background, and then I went to law school. I'm a licensed attorney as well. And then after law school, I went into the FBI. So I investigated cybercrime. This was back. I went into the FBI in '02, where we were dealing with. It was right after September the 11th. We were dealing with a lot of auction fraud because eBay was new. We were dealing with, denial of service attacks, like the traditional denial of service attack cases and things like that. Employee hack back, what we called it then, but what is internal threat now, and forensics and all that other stuff. So it was a lot of fun, and then I turned that into a corporate career. Spent several years in corporate, before starting a minorities in cybersecurity to assist young professionals with navigating their career. and ultimately to be able to get promoted in whatever their dreams are, right? And the Mike Lead Aspirers is that initial, I'm interested in getting into cybersecurity. Where do I start? And so we host these sessions. Well, this is the only one we're doing this month because of the conference, but by twice a month to be able to just bring people on to talk about their origin story, what their jam is, to inspire others, because you never know, what's next for somebody or who you're speaking to. So yeah, that's my small story there.
That's really cool. Well, it sounds like
Oh,
you have
thanks.
experience all over the field, from legal to cyber to criminal stuff. So that's really cool.
It is. I've looked at cybersecurity from a bunch of different vantage points, even
Yeah.
on the privacy side. But it's been a while ride, and it's been awesome. And I'm not done yet. So, but thank you, Annie, for joining us on this Friday. Where are you located?
In Lehigh, Utah, or Salt Lake.
Okay. Salt Lake. Okay. So it's 80 degrees in Texas right now. So
That sounds
I like to
amazing.
I throw that out there because yeah, it's a very nice day. It's a Friday, but I appreciate you joining us and sharing your story with us. And if there's anything we can do, like I said, please feel free to reach out. And guys out there, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here on the Aspire session. We'll be back in April. For those of you that will be at the conference, I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks, well, a week and a half or so. And for everybody else, we'll see you next month. And you have a great evening.